Figgy Visa collectors, this is me, Daniel East 1000, back again with another Indiana Jones figure review. Damn, that feels so good to say. For anyone who's not familiar with this channel's history, Indiana Jones figures were what I started off doing reviews on. Sadly, those videos have been lost to the sands of my own stupidity. If you want to see a video on that, link's up there. But nonetheless, when that line, the 3 3/4 inch line, fizzled out, I jumped back into the Star Wars collecting side of things, and it's been like that ever since, because there's been no films for Indy, no media really released for it, until a year or so ago where a new Indiana Jones film was announced. And naturally, to coincide with this, Hasbro had the rights to make Indiana Jones figures. And if you want to see my initial thoughts to the first reveals that they made, there's a video link up there where you can check that out. I was so damn hyped for this line. I thought, damn, Hasbro's got this really right. Patrick's done us good.
That's awesome. I know, right? Surprise, right. Yeah.
I was shooketh. And I thought, what can go wrong here? And when the pre-orders went up, that's when it took a nosedive. For some reason, Hasbro, they don't want to put up full waves for pre-order anymore. And I mean, they just seem to have a problem with the whole pre-order thing, like the concept of it. Now, there's a lot of chatter about this at the minute. I fall in the camp where pre-ordering is very useful, particularly if you're someone who really wants a certain character, or if you like to pre-order a full wave. And in an instance like this, with this figure line, the Indiana Jones Adventure Series, where you buy figures to build up an accessory, it makes complete sense why you would want to have the option to have a pre-order where you can buy the full wave. But for some reason, Hasbro limited retailers with stock. So I'm pretty sure, like with most situations at the moment, they've been extremely underhanded with their Hasbro Pulse platform, of which I outright advise everyone to not use where possible. Granted, there's exclusives that you can only get through there begrudgingly. Hasbro set the dates and times for when retailers should make products available for pre-order. Because Hasbro has Hasbro Pulse lists the items earlier than the retailers to get the jump on them. Sneaky AF. Go to your retailers, support your independents. So as soon as the first 2 figures, for some reason, that they allowed you to pre-order, so Indiana Jones, the main character that everyone will want, and Tote, these instantly sold out. And I wasn't quick enough, honestly, because Indy for some reason was extremely limited, and I looked on website to website, all sold out. Didn't have an opportunity to even pre-order him, because I work and also have a life, surprisingly. I know, amazing. Then if you jump to what feels like 3 months later, they make the other 3, admittedly less desirable characters available for pre-order. And it's too late, because no one can get their hands on the main character in his iconic look. So admittedly, I've kind of been in a bit of a that's not fair kind of attitude to it. And why I've not documented the reveals that they've made since then. I've really wanted to be hyped, but I've had an absolutely sour taste in my mouth. The type of sour that only one thing can scrub out. I know I've used that gag. Anyways, I don't think you're really here to listen to me have a little rant, but that's outlining the kind of frustration that I have with this line at the moment. The figures themselves I'm extremely hyped about. I just hope I can get my hands on them as and when I can. And well, fortunately today, while out and about, wasn't really expecting to find this particular figure. Maybe some of the crumbs, because I'm not usually the quickest to get out and about to find figures. But surprisingly today, the figgy gods have looked down upon me and smiled and said, Daniel, we know you're a bit gutted about this line, but here he is. I couldn't say no. I couldn't. As angry as I am with Hasbro and the tomfuckery they're doing at the moment, you're making good figures, and I hope this doesn't disappoint me, because I've been so hyped to get this figure internally. But I'm so chuffed to have it in hand. The store that I went in, I think they only had this last one on peg, because for some reason they've made the main character limited to pick up. I don't want to try and fuel the scarcity train that might be fueled already by Hasbro, but I'm going to be curious to see how actually scarce this thing is going to be. given how quick it sold out at pre-order. Nonetheless though, I'm really pleased with the price I paid for it. I'm glad I didn't submit to scalpers, and the main thing is finding it at retail. £21.99. What a steal for a figgy in this day and age. For some reason the others, because they did have Sala and Marion, they were £24.99 each. Now personally, I'm going to hold off and see what the market does. Like an investor in the stock market. Hold.
Now I know what you're thinking. Logan, what the fuck are you doing here? I'm doing the same thing as you. Holding my doink.
I will gladly wait for them. Indiana Jones is the main character, and this was the one that I said, if I don't get any of the others, that's kind of fine. As much as I'd like the others, the main guy himself in his main costume, that's key. That's the Indy I want. That's the Indiana Jones figgy that I need. This is what we're going to be reviewing. Let's see if it holds up to the hype that I had. So as always, we're going to take a look at the packaging itself, then the figgy. Starting off, you've got this now Hasbro standard of having no window where the figure would sit, but you have got that CGI mock-up of the figgy. Indiana Jones Adventure Series, notating the line that this is. Of course, the Build an Artifact notation. You've got Hasbro, various other legalese at the bottom. Also worth noting the plastic packaging free, of which Hasbro is really hammering home at the moment. You've also got lovely artwork from the film of Indy there. Some scenes from the film running around the spine. You've got Indy there, and the very opening scene from Raiders of the Lost Ark, where he's trying to get the fertility idol, and then the cargo truck chase scene where he's on horseback. Some more notation about plastic-free packaging there. Then on the other side, you've got a rundown of other figures and the artifact pieces that they all come with. So each figure comes with parts to build the Ark of the Covenant. Then you've got a ton of legalese there. And then on the back, you've got a big picture of the figure, rundown of all the accessories that the figure comes with, and then a ton of legalese at the bottom there. So that's the packaging out the way and done with. Now, because this is windowless, you can't see what figure you're going to get. So there's gnashing of teeth as to what we're going to get as we open up this box. So of course you've got the leaflet that you always get. Now if we pull the tray out, here we have the figure. Love the actual ceiling. That's kind of good because there's nothing around the face holding it in, because that's something I've noticed with some of the Star Wars figures. Because of the cardboard wrapped around the face, it can sometimes distort the noses. It's just worth noting. Something that I've noticed but not really had a chance to mention in reviews. But the fact that this Indiana Jones figure is literally just slip in. It's just like that. That's nice. And it comes in this nice wrapped up baggie, which has like a map design drawn onto it. Now, is he sealed inside the baggie? Oh no, he isn't. There's an opening here. Oh wow. Okay. Okay, so that's that. Oh, bloody hell. Hasbro. That's not a bad Hasbro either. This is a Hasbro. Hasbro. So we've got the figure out. Now to get into the accessories, which you can pull out just here. Oh, you've also got a picture of the artifact. Oh, and it shows you how to build it as well. That's kind of cool. And then we've got this baggie, which I assume has all the accessories. Now, I'm very anxious about this. So let's see if we got the right accessories, and let's dump it out on a space where I'm not going to drop it on the floor and lose anything. Okay, let's dump the accessories out of the bag. Make sure that we've got everything. So we've got the gun, we've got some hands, we've got a fist, we've got a thumbs up hand, Ark of the Covenant pieces, a whip. Oh god. Shit on it. Oh, actually, no, we're good. There's the whip. It's a bit all coiled up, and do we need to put this in hot water? I feel like we may need to put that in hot water to get it to sit right. So that's all the accessories dumped out. It looks all good. The satchel is actually on the figure itself, so we don't need to stress about that. So there we go. That's the unboxing experience, I suppose, of opening one of these figures. Won't be doing it for any of the others unless there's a reason to. Hopefully there won't be a reason to, because it would be me complaining. Let's get into the figure itself, shall we?
Dr. Jones, again we see there is nothing you can possess which I cannot take away. And you thought I had given up.
So here we have the figure itself in all its fortune and glory. Actually having it in hand, I haven't been able to put it down. It's such a fun, stunning, gorgeous even figure. Dare I say it? A benchmark for Hasbro to really strive towards in its other figure lines, particularly Star Wars. I am absolutely blown away with this figure. So let's just get a close in on Indiana Jones, everyone's favourite archaeologist and explorer. The likeness to Harrison Ford, it isn't spot on, but it's pretty damn close. You've got the stubble there. The hat isn't removable. It would have been a nice feature if it was, but that fedora looks fantastic, looks pretty well sized. I think that was one of the issues with some of the 3¾ inch figures. They did start to get it right as the line progressed, but on this figure, I think that's pretty well scaled up. Of course, you've got his jacket, the satchel. You can remove the satchel. It's just a case of taking the jacket off, and you can remove that. I'm not going to do it for the purpose of this review because it came on the figure, and that's how you're really going to display him, to be fair. Just have a quick close up on the shirt, but you can see the textures on there, the sort of seams and the buttons. On the jacket, the dry brushing is absolutely bob on. Really simple but really effective. And on his booty, you've got the pockets there on the back that have been sculpted in, the belt and the trousers. Not really too much sort of paint application going on legs, but that's fine because it's then made up for at the very bottom with that kind of dust look. Of course, he does come with peg holes. I think the paint on this guy is something to be really, really noted. There's a lot of dry brushing, particularly on the hat. If you look at the brim, you've got some like leather weathering on there. That looks absolutely tremendous. And like even on the back, you've kind of got rub marks from where his shoulders are. There's just a certain element of weathering which I've not seen from Hasbro, and just a certain level of effort as well. In terms of his accessories, he comes with a lot. Fertility idol first and foremost.
Let us hurry. There is nothing to fear here.
That's what scares me.
In all fairness, this is where I have to mention in terms of accessories, there's no real paint application on them, it's just a solid block, of which is a little bit disappointing, but in all fairness, accessories do not need a hell of a lot of painting on them. If they are the representation of the colour that it should be, if there's sort of like a certain colour that the accessory should be, then yeah, definitely include it, but some stuff like this, it's not always necessarily, but I think just a solid gold colour for that, that's not a problem. Even the gun as well, it's very, very small, and I think this is scaled up really, really well. Of course, he does have a holster of which that can sit in. It does have a kind of strap there which fits via a peg and slot. You can remove that out. You can fit the gun in there. I'll just show you the gun fitting into the holster if we can. So you just pull this little peg out, open that up, and then it's just a case of sliding this tiny little pistol. It is quite fiddly, so we've got that peg in finally. It took a bit of work, but you can get it to work. I'm sure you can get him in some really good sort of quick draw poses. Additionally, you've got the coiled up whip.
Give me the whip!
Adios, señor.
Which you can, of course, have him hold, but you can also have it fitted onto the belt by this loop and peg on system. I will admit though that that's quite loose fitting, and it does, with the slightest bit of touch, sorry, that does come out of place. But once you get it fitted and you don't mess around with it too much, that's fine. But as you can see, that coiled whip doesn't really have any sort of painting on it. It is just a solid brown colour. It would have been nice to see a bit of a wash on that to bring out some of the sort of braiding on the whip. But again, given how set off the figure looks, I'm willing to bypass, you know, the lack of paint on these accessories just because they are what they are. But yeah, you can fit that. bullwhip there, like so. Additionally, you've got the uncoiled whip, of which isn't painted. You might want to give this a run through in hot water. I haven't done that yet, but that is flexible, kind of shaped on its own though. So I think if you put it in hot water, potentially it might allow you to pose it up a bit more dynamically. It still looks, you know, pretty decent for what it is. It does come with 4 hands, additional to the ones that he already comes with. So I've still got him displayed with the ones that he had in packaging. So you've got this kind of relaxed grip hand, which he's already got on, and the hand intended for the gun. The other hands that he comes with are 2 fisted hands, 1 thumbs up hand, and a laxed hand. So in terms of the interchangeable hands, you can pop these off and they work in the same way that the Figurine Dan and Nylan Cheel Cantina band member from the Star Wars Black Series line. So that's a nice innovation that they've took from that and incorporated into this figure. And it's really easy to just slot those in and out. You know, you can really mix and match. And that just makes, I think for me, just a more diverse display. With a character like Indy, that's just what you need for him, because you're going to have him in some quite dynamic action poses, maybe even in some instances some kind of like thought-provoking poses where he's kind of stood there thinking. Like, it just adds so much playability, giving additional hands to figures, and it's something I wish Hasbro would include in more of its line, again, particularly Star Wars Black Series. But I'm so glad they've included it with this figure. But we'll show off the other sets of hands in pictures. I think for me the coolest hand has to be this one, the classic thumbs up, which is really doubled up to be used as a cracking his whip hand. You know, Indy has such a iconic kind of look. There's a silhouette to him with the fedora and the whip, and you can really get that from this figure, and additionally its posability, which brings me quite nicely into the posability of this guy. So in terms of articulation, he has a ball jointed head on a dumbbell, so you've got a real great variety of motion, and additionally there's a ball joint in the neck so he can look fairly far down, so you've got some really great motion in that head there, really expressive. You've got butterfly joints, ball joints in the shoulders as well, ball jointed elbows, ball joints in the wrists, ball jointed torso, ball joints in the hips, swivels at the tops of the thighs, ball jointed knees, and ball jointed ankles with the rocker joints. So you can get this guy in some really, really good dynamic poses. I almost forgot to mention as well, he comes with these Ark of the Covenant parts. So once you've bought all the figures, they should come with a piece that you can assemble, and you would then get the Ark of the Covenant. Indy comes with the top headpieces for that. Again, not really painted up or weathered, just very, very basic, but they certainly do the job. I'll be curious to see how the whole Ark of the Covenant builds up, if I can get the other figures. But yeah, they're just an inclusion that the figure comes with, an incentive for you to buy the whole wave, effectively. I'm blown away by this. Dare I say it, it's probably one of the best figures that I've seen Hasbro make in a very, very long time. I'm really struggling to come up with a gripe with this figure. There is certainly little minor issues, just the little subtle additions of paint application, the accessories particularly really do set this figure off. And it has a real shelf presence as well, because it has such a variety of ways that you can pose and display it. And ultimately, yeah, I'm going to admit this, play with it, because it's a frigging toy. In between filming this, editing it, I haven't been able to put it down because it's so good. This is peak FIGGIE fiendery. I'm really hopeful they continue it up with the other figures in the line. I do know there's a fair amount of reuse being thrown around with other figures. That can work. I'd probably have to see it in person. But with this figure as a completely new sculpt, wow. Well done, Hasbro. Other complaints aside, in terms of the whole business side of it, creatively, everything about this thing is fantastic. It's everything that me, as an Indiana Jones fan, would be looking for in an Indy figure. I really want this line to succeed. I don't want it to fail. And this figure, if they can keep up the quality to the same sort of standard as this figure, we're on to an absolute winner with this line. That's all I can really say about this figure, I highly, highly recommend it. If you're only going to get one Indiana Jones figure within budget, this is the one to get. This is the perfect Indiana Jones figure for someone who is just looking for a representation of the character for their shelf or desk for £21.99. A fantastic, fantastic deal. So let me know what you guys think of this guy in the comments down below. Will you be picking him up? Have you already picked him up? Let me know what you think. And this is me, Daniel East 1000, signing out, and thank you very much for watching.